Okay, data integrity and security. We are talking about database security, and we are discussing different topics. How can we protect our database? And the tools or the things which we must be aware of, that if we will not follow the practices, we can end up losing some critical information on our databases or the information about our enterprise. Now, tweets play an important role because Twitter provides number of members with blog-like services to update status and activities to family and friends. Images and links can be included with the tweeted messages. Accounts are falling prey of phishing, spoofing, and redirection techniques. So people are using it for variety of different purposes. Of Twitter and services like that, you are exposing your identity in one way or the other, because through tweets also you can be traced. Your physical location can be traced, that where are you at what moment of time. So exact locations can be traced, especially if someone is posting details or unnecessary information about you or your enterprise. Now, malwares are capable of performing harmful and destructive tasks on victims' computers, can be written in many programming languages. For example, different kind of malwares are worms, trojans, spyware, adware, adbots, etc. Now, computer virus is also a form of malware designed to spread from one computer to another. The degree of danger varies from annoying disturbances to destruction of the entire system. Your system would start performing slow, or it won't be able to read the operations perfectly. Characteristics found in the malicious code self-encryption, so that it is not detected by the antivirus solutions. Virus disguises the way it appears to the network, and the stealth is the viruses make changes to the system, need to avoid detection by antivirus programs. So you must make sure that installation of antivirus is not important. Important thing is to keep an eye that if the antivirus has not been tampered, and the second thing is if it's constantly getting the updates and definitions from the main server. Now, it intercepts the requests from antivirus programs and answers them instead of the operating system. Polymorphism, ability to change forms to avoid detection. So if there is a new pattern engine in the antivirus solution, it would change its setup so that it's not detected. Residence virus installs itself directly in a computer, mainly system in the memory, and the virus does not need the user to make it active, because it is active. Sometimes it's triggered automatically the moment you open your Word document or an Excel sheet or a PDF. Even images and videos, they are loaded in the background, and they are constantly monitoring what you are doing. Classes of virus are logic bombs, time bombs, spyware, adwares. Logic bombs are the viruses that corrupt data when certain conditions are met. That say that by the end of the month, it would automatically execute. It depends how it's programmed. Time bombs are the time-delayed viruses that mostly the people who are not happy with the organizations, when they leave behind time bombs. That, okay, if I'll do something now, it would be obvious that I'm doing it. So they plant it and they leave. So right after 3 months, 6 months, 50 days, 40 days, depends how they have programmed it, it starts working and it would start destroying the data. Automated process, because everything is automated. The spyware software that intentionally monitors the user's activities, and adwares are the malwares used for marketing purposes. So they keep track of your interest, your buying patterns, the websites you are visiting, demographics, your age details, and all that relevant information. Virus types resides on the boot sector. Viruses loaded themselves onto the hard drive, and there are some macros as well, which are usually attached to the Word documents, Excel sheets, etc. File-infected viruses attach themselves to executable files, which must run to activate it. Multiple viruses combine characteristics to boot in the sector to infect the files. Now, there are some self-replicating malwares. They keep on spreading. Spreading means not only on the computer, but as soon as you will connect any new medium and external disk like a USB or anything, it would be infected as well. So it keeps on copying itself. Then if it finds a network share which is open, unprotected, it would be copied over there as well. So it keeps on spreading itself. Element of a worm of a travel is it find a weak target, take control of the machine, interrogate the machine, and test a new target. Now, there are different kind of worms type which are explained over here, like email, instant messaging, internet worm, IRC. It used to be an old chat, IRC, and then the file sharing networks like peer-to-peer, etc. Now, Trojan viruses are the malwares that disguises itself and its harmful code. Smart way of writing the malicious code. Hide within the program such as software updates, games, and movies, and gain access to the sensitive information, destroy files, create opportunities for installing bigger threats, remote access because they can be controlled from outside, and allow an attacker to control the victim's computer from a remote location. Very dangerous. Data sending Trojans sends the information from the computer to the outside network. Destructive, randomly deletes the files, rename the files, modify the files, change its extensions, then proxies attack the user's IP address to commit the cybercrime, and file transfer protocol Trojans attacks the attacker to download the file from a victim computer and it would be uploaded. Now, bots, also known as these software bots, able to perform automated tasks for an intruder on a remote location. Now, it's used to spamming and launching the DOS attacks, denial of service. Can be hidden in games and other programs, can be emailed from the infected machine, able to disguise themselves and run in the background. Now, many bots controlled together known as a botnet, the person who will be controlling all bots. Now, when we talked about adwares here, some of the rogue websites which you are visiting, for example, the pirated softwares and things, which is illegal, so whatever is posted on them could be illegal as well. So the banners and advertisements that you see mostly appearing on it, you would find that you can download the Acronis software for only $10, lifetime activation and stuff. The moment you click on it, it would take you to a rogue website and a script would be downloaded from there to your computer. And once that's downloaded, they can even steal the passwords and other information which is stored in the browser. Now they are talking about the security architecture, a never-ending cycle. Creating a security architecture is not as easy task. Complete security is an unattainable goal. Yani you can try yourself to protect as much as possible, but you cannot say that we are 100% secure. You'll have to keep on renewing your security policy. You keep on studying the market, what are the latest viruses or trends or attacks on the databases or applications or operating systems, whether your database servers are patched properly or not, whether your normal operating servers are patched properly or not, all that relevant details. Now, the techniques used to attack database developed using the same technology used to protect the systems. Intruders become more advanced as technology advances because they are learning with the technology. The new technology comes in with claims that it is 100% secure, so all loopholes which were there in the previous versions of it would be covered in the new one. But once they'll cover the new ones, they might leave some new which are still open or the new mistakes, and they use those kind of things. New intrusions develop constantly. Processes of creating and maintaining the security architecture has 4 phases. Now, phase number 1 is assessment and analysis. You'll have to assess it and analyze it. Determine the organizational data security needs, identify existing vulnerabilities, what are the threats, and assets. Now, security audit is used to identify the threats, can be conducted internally or by a third party. Mostly it's done by third parties because those are the organizations who are not only studying one market, but they are going on different companies and implementing the policies. So they learn over time from their mistakes, so they keep on improving their policy so that your data is secure. Determine the cost of breached or lost assets. Security measures have never exceeded value of the assets by the protect. So you'll have to check the importance of data, how important is it, and how critical is it, so that you can have strategies according to it. Now, risk assessment is list all the devices and resources within a database environment, identify vulnerabilities and assets involved with each resource and device. Define the assets value and cost damage from the threats, create security measures to counteract the threats, prioritize the security measures. Only then you can decide that how much would it cost you. How many assets are there, how many people are working, and how many customers would be affected. Based on that, they'll calculate, and then they'll move towards the phase 2, which is design and modeling. Create a policy or a prototype of a security architecture to fit the business needs. Second is entire organization should be included in the process. Policies must be realistic for all users and business needs. So always the higher management is involved in that whenever it's about policy making. Because you can suggest them, they'll make a decision, and they'll make sure that it is enforced and everyone is following it. Define needed policies and procedures, identify the firmware and software changes which are required in order to adopt those changes. Create the implementation plan, how it will be implemented, and when we talk about implementation, we talk about training and awareness. That we will provide the training, but then after that there is assessment of it as well, that after getting the training, if people are actually implementing those policies or not. Then it comes the deployment. Security policies, firmware and tools put in place, test environment usually created. You test it in the test environment before you implement it on the main systems. Firmware and software, sometimes it need to be purchased or tested, and then deployment steps are to adjust the user awareness training is needed, test firmware and deploy the changes according to the deployment plan. Now, management and support monitors the security system performance, evaluate the architecture after the failures or breaches. That you have implemented it, you have checked it that people are using it, but still they are having any issues, so you'll have to work on a change plan. The plan which would be developed over the passage of time, so that after a couple of years you'll have a clear and a solid policy on it. Monitor the performance of the security architecture and the user security awareness training. Make minor policy revisions as necessary and identify the need of the assessment and reinitiate the process. So a department would be there which would be keeping note of all the problems which people are facing, and then they'll be meeting on bi-weekly or monthly basis in order to review all those changes, and if there are any changes required, it would be implemented. Global policies for the database environment, operational and information security ensure secure operations of an organization. Use reliable policies and procedures, necessary components of maintaining a database environment. Aspects of security are security policies, change management, update and disaster recovery. Security policy objectives define that overall security and goal, identify the scope of what is secure, define roles and responsibilities of the people, identify the specific communication, and discuss the policy enforcement. We have covered all these topics already, where you'll have to communicate and to discuss the policy with the users. Should be created by a committee or invested by stakeholders, or plan the communication policy. Update and upgrade management. Update is small change to already installed software or firmware. Sometimes it happens that you are having a big change from one version of the database to another. You'll have to make sure that the applications which are written with the previous version of the database are compatible with the latest version of database as well. For example, if you are writing a code on ASP.NET and you are using Oracle version 9 or 10 or 11, all of a sudden you move to the latest version of Oracle, whether your same application is compatible with the latest database or not. Some of the softwares these days are coming as web-based. So Before maybe you were using their database, but now the latest version of the same application comes in with a web interface provided by the vendor itself, which is very advanced. You don't need your own custom-made applications in order to pull the data. So in that way, you need to check that what's the impact of the latest softwares. Now, if any change like that happens, that a software company or a software is provided with a web interface, usually the companies are providing all migration from the older systems to the new system so that you can comfortably switch from the older one to the new one. Components of an update policy: patch update procedures, software update procedures, operating system upgrade procedures, firmware and change procedures. So anything is changed is being logged and written somewhere. It's not like you have installed and you're not keeping a track of it. The reason of doing that is that maybe you'll apply a patch or an upgraded system and later you start having an issue. So you know exactly that it started after you implemented a patch on a system. It's checked and then rolled out to all machines. Now, once the patches are released, there are two ways to do it: either to implement it on all machines or to first check it on a test environment before you implement it to all computers. Upgrade should be applied to a database should not be applied to a database immediately after a release. The reason is that once a release is there, people would install it and read for the comments if people had any issues with that. Now, downgrading a database is never a wise option. It's a tedious job. It takes a lot of time, resources, money, downtime. So you must be very careful when you're dealing with the databases. Questions to ask is: the update, is an upgrade really necessary? If it's a security update or there are some feature changes in it as well. If it can be delayed, you can wait for a time which is an off-peak time, then you don't have the huge sales or transactions on the system. You can check it in a test environment and then you can upgrade the main one. Create a test environment to test the upgrade, put a recovery plan and a restore plan in place to reverse the upgrade, and back up the files in case the reversal does not work. Nowadays, with the help of the imaging and cloning and everything, we can clone almost any application, clone any database or operating system. So you can have your own test environment in the organization, a 100% replica of a working system, a database, servers, and everything. Make the changes to the replica and then conduct the same changes on the main one. Type of updates and upgrades are: patch, for example, small program used to fix or upgrade the software. Programs or firmware devices often created in response to the newly discovered vulnerability. So sometimes it is written clearly that it is a critical update and you are supposed to install it as soon as possible. Because if you will not do it, there are possible chances that your systems or applications will be compromised. Software upgrades, then operating system upgrades. Most significant and risky upgrades involves radical changes for both clients and servers. But as they talked about in a couple of slides before as well, that whenever you are making any changes, make sure that you back up the system so that if in case there is a problem, you can revert it back. Now, backup intentional backups of the data. Configuration: used to achieve and store the information, used to replace the files and the network failures or attack. Backup management plan is a process to ensure the safety of network and data. Where you are saving the backups. Is it online, on premises, on the same machine, or externally as well? So the backup should not be maintained in the same building. In case if there is fire or anything like that, even your backup would be gone. So always there is a primary first location of the backup and there is a secondary location or a plan B for backups. Now, backup solutions mainly available today. Choose the best fit for the data and the business goals. You can back up the things on CD, you can have a tape backup, or you can have an external hard drive backups, or nowadays the backups in the cloud. Now, when you are maintaining any backups of any system, the questions you must ask is what should be the media of it, where will the backup be placed, what should be backed up, how often the information is saved, time of the day, or the backup should be when it should be completed. Now it depends how huge is the backup. If the backup is huge and you are expecting that it would take time, the backup process takes time plus the resources of the machine itself. So you don't want unnecessary delays and slowness of the system, so you schedule it late night hours when no one is using it. Second thing is that how critical is the data. If it's constantly changing, some organizations back up the data after every 5 minutes, 10 minutes to hourly, weekly, monthly, or annual basis. And then there is a retention period of the backup as well. Some backups which are taken quite often, like after an hour or daily basis, they are not kept over a longer period of time. Maybe they'll maintain the backup for a month, and they know that if there would be any problem, it would be identified within a month. So then they'll release the older backup and more space will be created for the new backup file, whatever they want to back up on the same storage medium. So in that way, they are saving the space on the storage medium where the backup software would automatically delete the oldest backup and would create a space for the new backups. Now the disaster plan is the plan developed to ensure that quick reinstatement of a network after human caused or a natural disaster is there. What would happen if it's a natural disaster or it's a human error? How fast can you be back in business? Plan should include contact information of emergency responders, that if there is a natural disaster, to whom you will be contacting. If it's an hacking attempt, what you will be doing. If it's a human error, what would be the strategy? Not only those things, but to whom you must be contacting. The companies, individuals, persons, emergency contact details, and all those things. Locations and details of the network backup, agreement with the national service carriers, communication strategies, how you will be communicating it, whether you want to inform the outside customers or not, whether you will be informing the stakeholders or you want to keep the information private. Contact information for the disaster recovery services, physical site recovery options. For example, we have a cold site, warm site, or hot site. Cold site provides a basic necessity for the building and a network where you have everything available. Warm site provides basic necessities and hardware and software. Rest of the things, you'll have to do it yourself. Hot site is exact replica of the organizational backup. So if it's down from here at point A, immediately you can switch to point B and start the operation from there. Shared site agreements distribute the cost of maintaining the backup site among the similar companies. So that's how we maintain the backup, and that brings us to the end of chapter number 1 on integrity and security.